we go now.
If you are ready to live a life of abundance, if you are ready to best your best, then come to the edge. Because if you are not living your life on the edge, you are taking up far too much room.
Here we go now.
Welcome to The Edge. I'm Eric Brown, your host, and today we've been invited into Mike Jones' office to discuss what we kicked off last week with our smoking hot content. So Mike, thanks for having us today.
Absolutely. Thank you all for coming back as well. Thank those of you who have subscribed to the podcast. We absolutely promise you some smoking hot content that will allow you to continue to create an even better version of yourself.
In the last podcast, Mike, we talked about starting at the beginning. Well, how it all started, about turning the lights on to being the person that we become. What did you mean by that?
Well, first of all, I want you to know that you did not come into this world with a hardwire that says that you're going to be that person. You didn't come in with a computer chip all programmed to be the person that you are. It has been developed over time. So let's talk about the science of that just for one moment.
Yeah.
So from the point of cognition, about 4 to 6 months old, until you were 4 years old, over 45% of you were created. This happened as a result of the humans in your life teaching you to do things repetitiously over and over and over again. You did those things consciously over and over and over again. They kept checking in to make sure that you were doing those things the way that they wanted you to do them over and over and over again. And over a period of time, from the point of cognition until you were 4 years old, 45% of the you that exists was created.
Wow.
It didn't happen as a result of a hardwire. It happened as a result of you practicing these behaviors over and over again until you mastered them. Once you mastered the behavior, you had created habits that are now stored in your subconscious. Those habits are the things that you do repetitiously, unconsciously every day. Now, by the time you were 18 years old, over 99% of the you that presently exists was created. Now, this was based upon all of the things that you were doing repetitiously over and over and over again, all of the things that you were experiencing as it relates to those things that you were doing. And now, if you look back on your life, what you will recognize is that you have created what we're going to refer to as your comfort zone. Certain patterns of doing things, certain ways of thinking, and it has become so comfortable for you to stay in that place, even when you know of a better way, even when you have learned a better way. It becomes more comfortable for you to fall right back into those patterns of doing and thinking.
Yeah, and I guess my question to you, Mike, would be, isn't that good? I mean, I always felt like when I was comfortable, that's when I was in my element, that things were going great for me because I was in that comfort zone.
Yeah, and that's probably one of the biggest misnomers known to mankind, Eric, because once we get stuck in that comfort zone, the awareness in this present moment is that we stop growing. We become stagnant. We become logical and reasonable. We get on this well-worn path, and because we've had some successes doing things that way, we continue to do them because it's safe. It's comfortable. We remain risk averse, which means that we are not growing. We are absolutely in what I'm going to refer to as a state of dying and decaying.
I know for me, though, when I get out of my comfort zone, I become fearful. I get afraid that I may fail or that what I'm going for may not work out. So in the context of that comfort zone, I'm always focused to go back into my comfort zone rather than live outside of it because of how it makes me feel.
Yeah. And you know what? That is absolutely perfect for this Come to the Edge podcast, because this is all about getting out of that comfort zone and getting out on that edge. When you get out on the edge, I want you to think about this. Think about how you feel when you're out on an edge. Let's say you went on a hiking trip and you got really close to the end of a cliff. You climbed on the roof to hang the Christmas lights and you got really close to the edge. Think about how you are feeling in that moment. Think about the things that you're thinking, the conversation that you're having with yourself, and of course that fear that you are experiencing when you get out on the edge, because that's exactly what we're here for. We want you to get out on that edge in your life and experience those sweaty palms, that increased heart rate. But we want to help you become more comfortable with being uncomfortable, because that's where the growth will occur.
Got it. So what are some things that you would suggest for people to really push them out of that comfort zone into that uncomfortable zone where they got the butterflies in their stomach and the sweaty palms, focused on that next step?
Well, here's the first thing I want to invite you to do. I want to invite you to invite those butterflies to stick around for a little while longer, because when they show up, you are absolutely out of your comfort zone, which means that there is the potential for you to grow. Now, let's take a step back and just take a look at this for a second. You have experienced being out on the edge and being out of that comfort zone, but quite often it was because of what happened to you, not because of you. Some circumstance occurred in your life that pushed you out on that edge, that pushed you out of your comfort zone. For some of you, it may have been going through a divorce, the breakup of a relationship. For others of you, it may be being betrayed by a good friend, losing a job. For some of you, it may be a failed business. But you have had a circumstance in your life that have pushed you out on that edge. And you have experienced those butterflies at that time. You've experienced sweaty palms and an increased heart rate, but that didn't feel good at all because it happened to you, not because of you. So when we talked in the last episode about setting outcomes, we're going to be talking about setting an outcome probably in every one of these podcasts because it is so critically important. But when you deliberately write that word down, because it's going to become so important to you. It is one of the most powerful words when it comes to personal growth. When you deliberately set an outcome to get out of your comfort zone and get out there on that edge, now it is a very purposeful, very intentional means of being on the edge. It's a much different physiological feeling. It's a much different set of butterflies. It's a much different increase in the heart rate and sweaty palms. In the context of this conversation, those things are now welcomed in because it's exactly what we're after, and we know what to expect when we make the deliberate choice to get out on that edge.
So I got to ask this because this came to me in my head right now, and it'll just come out for me when it comes up. So what about, because when I get in that moment, I'm afraid. I mean, I get fearful that I'm going to fail. So what would be your coaching to the listeners out there that get to that moment and they don't take action because they're afraid of the failure?
Yeah. So, one of the things that we always say here at Discover Leadership Training, I know Mama and Paul taught you that failure should never be an option. Mm-hmm. I really want you to know that when you make the choice to get out on that edge, deliberately get out on that edge, failure must be an option. If you choose to live your life on the edge, failure must be an option because you are going to fall down from time to time. The awareness in this present moment is that winners lose more often than losers lose. Let me say that again, because I really want you to connect to this. Winners lose more often than losers lose. So if you choose to live your life on the edge, you are going to fail sometimes. Failure now becomes a positive. I said that out loud, Eric. Failure now becomes a positive because it will give you an opportunity to authenticate that you deliberately got on that edge for a deliberate, intentional, purposeful outcome and that you are committed to it. So now failure is an absolute gift in the context of this because it gives us an opportunity to authenticate our commitment to that outcome.
Yeah, so that is definitely some smoking hot shit right there. I mean, 100%, and you're just dropping it. My question, and I'm sure some of the audience members have this question as well, is when you do fail, though, what is the secret around it? So if that's a positive, I've always framed that as a negative. So, and I've been taught that for sure that it's a negative to fail. So how do you frame it into a positive and then make that your positive actuator moving forward?
Yeah, and the other thing that I want to address as I address that as well is something that you asked me a moment ago about fear. So we have an acronym for the word fear.
Okay.
So the F in the word fear, we say that it's false. The second word, the E, is evidence. The next letter is the word A, and it stands for appearing. And that last word is real. So false, evidence, appearing, real. So if we were now to take you back to the conversation about your comfort zone, many of your fears are learned behaviors that exist in your comfort zone.
Okay.
And those things are there to keep you safe. Mama and daddy taught you how to survive, not necessarily how to thrive. They taught you how to survive. Now, this is not a blame game on mama and daddy or mama and papa. This is an understanding that they loved you so much that they wanted to keep you safe. But if you stay safe, you are now existing, you are not living. And what I'm saying to you is that when you get out of that comfort zone, if you choose to play at this level, if you get out on that edge, you are going to experience that fear. And there's probably some evidence stored in your subconscious that says that this fear is legitimate. The absolute promise that I'm asking you to make to yourself is that you will acknowledge that fear. It's very real to you. Acknowledge it. But as soon as you acknowledge it, I'm encouraging you to take a powerful step forward to your outcome of creating a better version of yourself. And if you happen to fall down, get up and dust yourself off, get back into the game and go for it again. Because, baby, that's what living is all about. It's not just existing, sitting on the sidelines, risk averse, afraid that something may go wrong. I'm going to get in the game. I'm going to skin my knees up and my elbows. When we were small children and we went out and we did that, we would go in the house and get a little liniment or alcohol and put on and put a Band-Aid on and went right back outside and got back into the game and played more.
Yeah. So you're saying just feel that fear and just do it anyway.
Absolutely. Wow. Absolutely.
Okay. Awesome, man. I tell you, I guess for me too, it really comes around who you surround yourself with too, because if you do fail and people are pointing out ways where it could go wrong, you're going to likely create more of that.
Absolutely.
But if your focus is on what you're going to gain and moving towards it, and you surround yourself with a group of people who have your back, that's a transformative shit right there.
Yeah. So, 100%. In the over 30 years, Eric, that I've been doing this, one of the things that I am going to say to you today,
yes, sir.
I hope you can hear me. Can you hear me? Yes or no? Please hear me right now. It is going to be so important to be aware of who you are surrounding yourself with if you're going to get out on that edge. Because what I have observed in the over 30 years that I've been doing this is just like crabs in a bucket. Those of y'all that have ever been crabbing or fishing, you know what crabs in a bucket do. There's this one little crab who's doing everything within its power to get out of that bucket. It gets out on the edge, literally out on the edge of the bucket, and the rest of the crabs in the bucket are reaching up, pulling him back into the bucket. I mean, if you have surrounded yourself with those kinds of people, I'm going to encourage you that it is time to get rid of some of those zeros and get you some heroes. And what I mean by heroes is people who will prop you up when you need to be propped up. People who will give you a hug when you need a hug. People who will give you a swift kick in your butt when you need that. But I'm not talking about somebody who is there just to play pity party with you as you go for the sweetest fruit available to you. Let me tell you what this guy named Will Rogers used to say, Eric. He said that the sweetest fruit that is available to us in our lifetimes is out on those skinny branches. Now, out there on that skinny branch, it requires you to take a risk. I said a risk to get that sweet fruit. That's why there's not many people going for it. The majority of the people are in their comfort zone going for the low-hanging fruit. I want you to think about this for a minute. How many times in your life have you said, I'm going to go for the low-hanging fruit? What I'm going to encourage you to do is get out of that comfort zone, get out on that skinny branch, take a risk of going for the sweetest fruit available to you. When you do, as I said a moment ago, there is the potential that you will fail. You will fall flat on your butt. So what? Get up, dust yourself off, surround yourself with the kind of people who will encourage you to get back into the game and go for it again and again and again until you achieve that outcome. Because I'm telling you, that is absolutely what's available to you.
That's awesome. And I would ask this question, Mr. Jones. When you're talking about the comfort zone, as you keep pushing yourself outside of it, I would imagine the comfort zone gets larger. So what would be your coaching for the folks that start to get some of those wins and create that momentum and then continue to fail as it goes?
Yeah, so I'm going to say something, and I need you to participate in this because I want you to hear this in your head all day long. I'm going to say small steps. You say small wins. So small steps.
Small wins.
Small steps.
Small wins.
So the more and more you go through the process of neuroplasticity, where you are taking small steps, you will be able to create sustainable change. And just like Eric said, that comfort zone will begin to expand, which means that your uncomfortable zone will also continue to expand. This is an evolution that has no ending, y'all, because we all occupy the largest room in the house. And that room just gets larger and larger as we continue to live our lives. So I'm encouraging you to take some small steps. In fact, I would ask you right now to think about this. What small steps will you take today? Outcome, create a better version of myself. To create a better version of yourself. I mean, in some aspect of your life, as a mom, as a dad, as an employer, as an employee, as a grandparent, as a friend, what small step, one small step, y'all, will you take today that will allow you to create an even better version of yourself in some aspect of your life?
And as always, Mr. Jones, some smoking hot content on this podcast. Come to the edge. And ladies and gentlemen, if you benefited from this content, subscribe below because there's going to be some more smoking hot shit drop every Wednesday night at 8 p.m.
So come to the edge. Because if you are not living your life on the edge, you are taking us far too much risk.
Here we go now.